live, I guess. I'm live! I'm alive! I'm alive! Alive, Amber! Just like Frankenstein, who isn't on our poll today. Oh, we have at least 3 people in chat because it's at 67%. And so that means at least 2 people have voted for zombies and 1 person has voted for something else. Hello, folks! Oh, there's a vampire in the midst of us. I feel like we've done this particular poll in the past before, so you'll have to blame Amber for the lack of creativity.
It's a fun one, even if we've done it before. I don't remember what everyone answered last year.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it was last year. I would imagine it was last year. I'm just giving Amber a hard time. I'm joshing her, as they say, as the kids say these days.
It's spooky season, so we needed a spooky question.
It's spooky season. We have spooky questions. You have a spooky host. Hi, Mary. Welcome to the live stream. We're getting pretty close to Halloween, and that's the, of course, reason for the spookiness.
Or it could just always be spooky because I'm here.
Yes, Amber also is here, constantly threatening me, so it's a little bit.
I'm not constantly threatening you. I'm just writing scary stories.
Hi, Marcia. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Army Soldier Lady. Welcome. We're happy to have you folks here today and joining us for the September live stream. We got a lot of great stories for you today, so we hope that you enjoy them. So just to make sure that we're doing okay, how's my volume? I know that I'm already shouting into the microphone. Oh, and hello, Heather. Welcome, welcome. And Hannah, welcome. Oh, welcome to your first live stream then. We're happy to have you here. So let's get started then. Let's get started. All right. So our first letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for breaking my husband's golf clubs after he left me alone with our newborn twins? I'm a 28-year-old female and I recently gave birth to our twin babies, a boy, Oliver, and a girl, Lily. They're almost 9 weeks old now, and while I'm overjoyed to be a mom, I've never felt more physically and emotionally drained in my life. I am suffering from postpartum hemorrhaging right now after delivery, and I lost so much blood that I had to be rushed into emergency surgery. I nearly died. I was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks recovering. The physical recovery has been brutal, but the emotional toll is even worse, and I feel like I'm drowning every single day. My husband, Matt, a 32-year-old male, was helpful while I was recovering in the hospital, but once I got home, he checked out. He works a 9-to-5 job, but instead of helping when he's home, he escapes to his man cave to play video games or go out with friends. I'm left alone caring for the twins, and the exhaustion has become unbearable. I've been having terrible complications from the hemorrhaging, constant pain, weakness, and intense anxiety. I still can't walk properly without getting dizzy, and breastfeeding has been a nightmare. Lily struggles to latch, which leads to bleeding nipples, and every feeding session feels like torture. I've tried to ask Matt for help, but every time I do it, he brushes me off. His go-to excuse is that I'm on maternity leave and that's what moms do. He says that he needs to decompress after work and that I should be grateful that he's working to provide for us. Meanwhile, I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes of sleep in between feedings, and I'm running on pure adrenaline at this point in time. Last week, after another exhausting day with no help, I tried to talk to him about how I felt and how I felt like I was drowning. His response? He asked when we were going to start having intimate time again. He said it's been 2 months and I'm starting to get frustrated. I was speechless. My body hasn't even fully healed from the traumatic birth, and he was acting like I was depriving him, which I tried to explain how much pain I was still in, both physically and emotionally. He rolled his eyes. Other women bounce back after having babies. It's not that hard. You've got to stop using it as an excuse. I felt so ashamed in that moment, like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't recovering fast enough. I wasn't being enough for him. It's not like I didn't want to be intimate with him again. I miss the closeness that we used to have, but I'm still bleeding occasionally, and I could barely walk without wincing. My whole body felt like it was failing me, and instead of being patient or supportive, Matt acted like I was deliberately withholding intimate time from him. He even tried to initiate once when I was barely 5 weeks postpartum, and I had to practically beg him to stop because it was too painful. He got frustrated, said, "Come on, it's been long enough," and huffed off like a teenager. Every time I tried to talk to him about how overwhelming things were, he would steer the conversation back to when we would be having intimate time again. Like that was the only thing on his mind. This Saturday was a breaking point. The babies had been fussy all night, and I hadn't slept haven't slept more than an hour in 48 hours. I was completely exhausted. And with my anemia still making me weak, I could barely stand. The incision from my surgery was throbbing with pain. Matt had left early that morning for a full day of golf with his buddies, despite knowing how rough my night had been. He said that he would be back by noon, but noon came and went, and he was still out. He was going at the course, and it was only an hour away. He was golfing at the course that was only an hour away, so I figured if things got too bad, he would come home. Around 4 p.m., I was trying to feed Oliver while Lily was crying. My hands were shaking from sheer exhaustion, and in that moment, I dropped Oliver. I caught him in time, but it scared me so badly that I collapsed on the floor in tears. I texted Matt, begging him to come home, telling him I was just scared and overwhelmed. His response, "Just put them in their cribs and rest. I'll be home later." Later turned into 9 p.m., by which time I was a complete mess. I had been alone with the twins all day with no help, no food, and no sleep, and when Matt finally walked through the door, he didn't seem to care at all. He saw me sitting on the floor with the twins still crying, and giggled. Yes, he giggled. He looked down at me, smiling like it was some kind of joke. Like, "You're being overdramatic. You should just handle it." I saw red. His smug, dismissive little giggle was the final straw. In a blind rage, I grabbed his beloved golf clubs, the ones that he's obsessed about, and smashed them against the floor. I broke two of them before Matt even realized what was happening. He started screaming at me, calling me crazy and psycho for breaking something so expensive and accusing me of losing it. After that, he stormed out of the house and spent the night at a friend's place. His best friend has since been texting me, calling me a psycho, saying that I'm unhinged for destroying his clubs. He told me that I owe Matt a huge apology for overreacting, and that he's been trying his best. And by that, we mean not trying at all.
Yeah.
But has he? I'm here day after day, struggling to keep it together with two newborns and still recovering from a traumatic birth. I've been so weak that I've nearly dropped my baby, and Matt hasn't been around to help. He works during the week, and I understand that, but every weekend he's out golfing or with his buddies, and whenever he comes home from work, he's either watching sports or playing online games. I haven't had more than 2 hours of sleep at a time in weeks, and I feel like I'm drowning. I'm starting to feel like maybe I did overreact, but at the same time, I'm so angry that he doesn't seem to care about how hard things have been for me. Am I the jerk for breaking his golf clubs? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, normally I'm not a fan of destruction of property, but honestly, I feel like OP showed so much restraint not breaking them over his head that, like, I gotta hand it to her. This sounds like an incredibly, incredibly frustrating situation. Like, there's not even words for how horrible he is being right now. And honestly, Obi might be better off divorcing him, getting child support and alimony, and maybe if her parents are nearby, or siblings or friends, living with someone who can help her while she gets back on her feet.
Yeah. And I'm first gonna say, welcome Sue Sums to the live stream. But then I'm gonna say, yeah, this is a pretty horrifying situation here. Here she is, exhausted, just completely exhausted, gone through a traumatic birth, has so many things like going on, and he can't even be bothered to look after his wife, who's repeatedly told him that she feels like she's drowning. He is not being a good partner. Like, this isn't what relationships are about.
Mm-hmm.
He is just treating her like a workhorse at this point in time, right?
Well, and my guess is he only treated her okay when she was at the hospital because of the public image. Because, you
Mm.
can't look bad. It would look pretty bad if he never showed up for her when she was in the hospital.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, honestly, I think she probably just needs to divorce him. But like, if she's not in a place where she can divorce him right now, is there some way to put him on blast, what he's doing on blast, and like show people what he's really like?
Well, okay. What really kind of puts me over the edge here,
Mm-hmm.
more than anything, is the giggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he walked in on her, seeing her broken down,
And he finds it
and he
hilarious.
finds that funny. That isn't funny. That should have been like a major change in that very moment, being like, oh my goodness, what have I done to my wife here?
Well, it
Right?
shows how little he actually cares for
Yeah,
her.
yeah,
She is just an instrument to serve him.
yeah,
She gives him kids and then does everything else for him. And if she's not the good little robot that he wants, then he throws a tantrum.
yeah. But what do the comments have to say? They're, I'm sure, very juicy with this first one.
Mary says, I hate to dive right into leave him, but seriously, that's the only way I can see Opie getting any me time at all.
Yeah, yeah,
Susum says, when will we start to get intimacy? Never.
yeah.
Hannah says, a full day of golf when your ailing wife hasn't had a break from newborn twins in 8 weeks? No.
Well, and also, I want to kind of interject here real quick. Wonder why she's having a hard time recovering,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, she's already have so much stress on her body that it's going to be really difficult for her body to actually heal if she's constantly in an elevated state of anxiety and lack of sleep and stuff like that. You need sleep. You need to come down from anxiety in order to heal properly.
That and also the physical toll of taking care of the two newborns all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
And then Heather says, my heart aches for OP in story one. As a twin mom myself, it's a struggle. Her husband is a jerk and needs a wake up call.
Yeah.
Or the centrifuge.
The centrifuge.
Mary says, where are the in-laws? Close by. Breaking the clubs might be the only thing Opie could break and get a reaction other than giggles. And then Marsha says, I was thinking the same thing with breaking them over his head. He was mentally abusing her. Drag him to her doctors and let him explain it to home. He doesn't care about those babies.
Yeah.
Only about intimate time.
And also, welcome Suba to the live stream. We're happy to have you here with us. Is that the end of the comments there?
Mhm.
All right. Well, speaking of terrible partners, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for not taking my sister's dying wish seriously and refusing to raise her miracle baby? This isn't about
It
terrible
has nothing
partners.
to do with terrible partners. It's terrible parents and sister.
I completely misjudged that segue. I was like, there'll be a terrible parent in here, won't there? No, there was no terrible parent.
There's a terrible parent, not a terrible partner.
Yeah, a terrible partner, rather. All right. I'm a 29-year-old female, and I'm dealing with an absolutely infuriating situation, and my family is making me out to be the villain. I'm so angry, and I honestly don't know what to do anymore. My sister, a 34-year-old female, passed away 2 weeks ago. I loved her, but we weren't close for years due to her life choices. She was diagnosed with a serious illness in 2021 and was given only a few years to live, which fueled her obsession with having a baby. After multiple failed relationships and rounds of IVF, she finally managed to have a child, Tommy, who is now 1 year old. Here's where things get worse. My sister, on her deathbed, apparently told everyone that she wanted me to adopt Tommy and to raise him as my own. I only found out about this when I was confronted by my parents at her funeral. I don't have any kids, nor do I want them. I have never wanted to be a mother. I have a high-stress job that I love, a partner who doesn't want children, and we've built that life that we're very happy with. I was completely blindsided when my parents dropped this bomb on me, saying that it was my duty to honor my sister's dying wish. I was in shock and told them that I wasn't in a position to adopt Tommy. That's when all of this nonsense broke loose. My parents started screaming at me in front of everyone at the funeral, calling me heartless, selfish, and even going as far to say that my sister died in vain because I refused to take responsibility for her child. They even had the audacity to say that I was disrespecting her memory because I didn't immediately say yes to taking a child in that I had no prior relationship with. It gets worse. They've been calling me nonstop, sending me guilt-trippy messages, and showing up unannounced at my house with Tommy in tow, trying to force me to take him. They've even had the nerve to ask me to take time off of work to bond with him, saying that it's my responsibility now because of family. My mom is pushing this idea that they're too old to raise a baby, even though they're both in their 60s and perfectly capable. They just don't want to be inconvenienced by this. My partner is fully on my side, and we're considering going no contact because this is escalating to the point where they are threatening to go public and shame me if I don't take Hami. They're making me out to be some kind of monster, but I am not the one who made the decision to have a child that I can't care for. They even suggested that my career doesn't matter compared to the legacy of our family. They refuse to acknowledge that their miracle baby was not my responsibility to begin with. Oops, I just lost my place. Sorry about that, folks. Let me scroll back down. I have went to the wrong page here. All right. I never agreed to this. It's not like my sister even asked me before she died. She just threw some sort of last minute obligation. Now I'm the villain because I don't want to ruin my life for a child that I had no say in having. Am I the jerk for refusing to honor my sister's dying wish and refusing to raise her child? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. You had no hand in creating this child. Like, OP was never once consulted in this. Like, you can't just say, "Oh, I want someone to raise my baby." Like, well, you can say that, but
Yeah.
they're not legally bound to it. And so, if the sister wanted OP to raise the kid, she should have talked to OP and seen if OP would be amenable. But honestly, I feel like knowing she only had a few years to live, bringing a child into the world without a plan is pretty irresponsible.
So I have a little bit of mixed feelings on that aspect of things, right?
I mean,
Because, like, oh, sorry.
no, I was gonna say, like, I understand wanting to have a kid, but I feel like she should have had an ironclad plan of what would happen after she
Well,
was gone.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, right? And so one of the things about medical conditions is that sometimes things can change without warning, right? Sometimes doctors make mistakes. Sometimes you need to just actually live your life and live it to your fullest while you're here, right? And so I've heard of cases where people have been diagnosed with some kind of fatal disease. It turns out that they made a mistake, that the person lived for another 20 or 30 years, right? And I can understand in the respect that if the sister really wanted to have a child and that she thought that this would be a thing that would make her life a little bit more complete, that this is what she wanted to do. But I agree with you completely. She should have had a contingency plan in case she did die, right? And now she had this child without talking to OP, and she expected OP to just take on take on the torch, right? And I think that's a tremendously unfair thing
Mm-hmm.
to the child, especially.
Yeah.
Because the child, if, say, OP does take them in, this child isn't a wanted child. There's going to be a lot of resentment here. And that's not going to be fair to the child to have a parent who doesn't want them around.
Well, and that's the thing is like, I mean, it wouldn't like be. It's not like the kid is like an animate object who you can pass from one person to another and it has no feelings.
Yeah.
Like, knowing she had likely so little time and having a child without having any plan and just assuming that OP would take him, that's an incredibly selfish thing to do. And it's not in the best interest of her child. Like, it doesn't seem like she was concerned about what would be best for him and just fulfilling her wish.
Yeah. So I feel bad because Tommy isn't going to be in a good situation here. I think if the parents are really this concerned, the parents should take the child in. But it seems like they kind of they have their own life goals and, whatnot, and they just don't want to take them in, is the kind of the vibe I'm getting here.
Well, it is, but like if they don't want to take him in, then they don't have to either. But they can't force OP to take the child.
No, no.
And so they just OP probably does need to go no contact with them at this point in time because it doesn't seem like they're gonna let up on pressuring her.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says OP didn't make any promises. This one's on the parents. And then Suba says, not the jerk. I cannot believe her sister didn't tell her beforehand. Taking care of a child is a lot of work. And she says she isn't in the right place to take the child. If you aren't in a place to take a child and you are forced to, that child probably won't have a good life.
Oh, yeah.
Do the parents even think of the stuff like that? Seriously agree it's so unfair to the child. And Mary said, people should realize that child-free is not just a preference. It's a subject people take a great deal of time and thought before arriving at.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important point, that last point especially.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of really important points, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for blocking my childhood best friend after she tried to make me pay for the catering at her son's first birthday? So here's the thing. I'm a 28-year-old female, and Anna, a 28-year-old female, and I have been best friends since forever. Like, we grew up together, went through school, first breakups, everything. Naturally, when she had a baby, I was thrilled for her. I even helped her plan the baby shower, and I got super involved in her life as a new mom. But recently, things have gone weird. Anna's son just turned 1 last weekend, and she wanted to throw them a huge party. I'm talking over the top, rented venue, professional catering, decorations, the whole shebang. Now, I thought that we were just going to have a nice little family and friends thing, but nope. Anna had a vision. Fine, no biggie. I figured that she could do whatever made her happy on her son's big day. Fast forward to a week before the party, Anna starts hinting that she's a little stressed about the cost and how things are tight right now. I get it, having a baby is expensive, but she keeps bringing it up in every conversation. I offered to help with decorations or to pick up some snacks, but she waved it off, saying that she had everything under control. Well, the day of the party comes, and it's chaos. Balloons everywhere, bouncy house, tons of people I didn't even know. I show up early to help set up, and Anna's running around like a headless chicken. Then, as we're putting out the decoration, she casually says, "Oh, by the way, I put the catering on your card." I haven't even seen a catering bill, let alone agreed to pay for one. "Ugh, what do you mean you put it on my card?" I asked, trying to stay calm. She looked at me like I was being dramatic and goes, "Yeah, you know I've been struggling, so I figured you wouldn't mind covering it. I'll pay you back later." Excuse me? First of all, I never said that she could use my card, and second, I had no clue how much catering even cost. I asked her, and she shrugged and said only about $500. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. $500 for food I didn't even order or agree to pay for. I told her no way. I wasn't going to pay for something that she never asked permission for, and frankly, I didn't even have that kind of money just laying around. She acted all shocked and hurt, saying that I was being selfish and how it was her son's first birthday, as if I'm supposed to go into debt for a party I didn't even throw. We had a massive argument in front of some of her other friends, and I ended up just leaving early. Later that night, she blew up my phone with texts saying that I ruined her son's day, that I was being a terrible friend, and how I didn't understand how hard things are for her right now. I just couldn't believe the audacity. After everything, I blocked her. I couldn't even deal with the guilt tripping, especially over something so ridiculous. Now, some mutual friends are reaching out, saying that I was too harsh and that I should have just helped her out because she's struggling. But I feel like she crossed a line. You don't just throw someone's money into your plans without asking them, right? So am I the jerk for blocking her, or did I overreact? Edit. To everyone asking why she has access to my card, that's still a question to me. Maybe she went through my things when I visited her to help babysit her son a day before his birthday, or on how she did it, I don't know. But I already filed a dispute with my bank about the charge, and I will be checking my card to see if there are any other things that she purchased with my card. I really can't imagine that she could do this to me. And there was actually an update to this. It isn't here. I forgot to actually drag it over, but basically OP is filing charges against her.
Yeah, OP let her parents know as well, and they're like, we'll talk some sense into her, but
Mm-hmm.
friend is not doubling down that she did nothing wrong.
Yeah. But what do you folks think?
Yeah, no, OP is definitely not in the wrong. Like, you don't get to steal people's stuff, even if it's an emergency, but like, catering for a 1 year old's birthday party to act like this is, oh, I just had to have my son's birthday party catered. He's not going to remember this. He's one. And so, like, I don't know, just the audacity here. She stole from you. You have every right to not want to be friends with someone who steals from you, to not trust someone who steals from you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could understand her actions here if her child had been kidnapped and the only money that she had was like OP's credit card and been like, "You give us $500 right now, or else we'll, take away your child forever," or something like that, right?
Well, and
Justified, probably, right?
right. Well, like, I mean, OP probably would be okay with the money being used for that purpose
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
if she had it available. But like this, even if it's an emergency, you still need to consult someone and be like, oh, OP, my kid has been kidnapped. I only have your credit card on hand. Don't ask me why I have your credit card, but I do.
Yeah. This feels like one of the games of would you rather
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it does.
What kind of how hypothetical can we make this situation? The what ifs.
It feels like, philosophy class, and it's like, how far into a Kantian viewpoint are we going to go today?
So I think that OP has every right to be upset with her friend
Mhm.
because this isn't what a good friend does. And I understand why the friend was upset and stressed out, but they spent this on a luxury.
Mhm.
If finances are tight, then she shouldn't have thrown an elaborate party, right? Just a close party with some friends and family would have done. A 1 year old is not going to remember a party like this, right? They're not going to have any take anything away from it. And also, I would think this would be a little stressful on a child this young too to have such a large party.
It could very well be, depending on the child. And like, even if it was an older kid, like a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old, some milestone, if they don't have the $500 for catering, then it's on, her and her partner to figure it out and not to take other people's money. But there's an extra layer of absurdity that this is for a 1-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, catering birthday for a 1-year-old, shaking my head. Suba says, $500 for a 1-year-old's birthday. I would be so upset if a friend did that to me. That's horrible. Mary says, you know what you do when things are tough? You don't cater a party for a 1-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
And Marcia says, that friend is not a friend, and she is right to file charges for theft.
Speaking of charging files for theft, I don't know. That wasn't a good one. I was gonna say catering for a 1 year old.
There's still some illegal behavior going on in this one.
There is still some illegal behavior. Speaking of illegal behavior, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Going Into My Daughter, a 31-year-old female's apartment without her permission, me being a 52-year-old male? My daughter, my middle child, is a single mom to a 12-year-old girl. She cut the father out of her daughter's life because he has mental health issues that he refuses to get help for. She is doing mostly well for herself, but occasionally she needs my financial help and help dropping off and picking up her daughter from school as she works 12-hour shifts at the hospital. I'm even the co-signer on her apartment and her car. They live alone, so I thought, but I did have my suspicions that she was seeing someone, as she went out of town for her birthday with her daughter and didn't tell anyone. Eventually, it came to light that she was in a relationship, but she is notoriously private until she is ready to talk about something. I don't go into her apartment because she has a large dog and cats, which I'm not a fan of. But one day, while I knew that she was at work, I went into her apartment because she gave me the code for an emergency purposes. Upon inspection, I discovered that she has a man, her boyfriend, and his brother staying in her guest room, staying with her and her daughter. I don't know this man or his brother, and I don't like that she has been having them live with her while she is accepting my financial help and having these men around my granddaughter. We were supposed to have a birthday celebration for her as her birthday is tomorrow, but I canceled and I requested it to be removed requested to be removed from her lease. In addition to questioning if I should call CPS. Now my granddaughter appears healthy and happy, but I feel like I should have a right to be concerned about who she is being around, and I feel it is disrespectful for my daughter to have me help her when she has two grown men staying with her. I confronted my daughter, and she responded by completely cutting me out of her life and out of my granddaughter's life for this invasion of privacy. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yes, OP, you're the jerk. If you have concerns about your well-being of your granddaughter, you take that up with your daughter. You don't, go snooping around her house.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't get to dictate who she has living in her house. Like, there's no signs of abuse. You can't just vet, like, as a grandparent, he doesn't have the right to vet everyone who his daughter dates. It seems like he wants to make sure that this man is suitable, but that's not his responsibility.
Well, I understand one facet of where he's coming from here. If he's paying for an apartment and he's helping his daughter through this hard time, I can understand why he would feel a little annoyed if there
If
were other
there's other people
people
living
living
in
there
there.
who could be helping with rent, right?
Right, and I'm not saying that the daughter is blameless in all of this,
Mm-hmm.
but snooping into her home to see what's going on was not the way to go about it. He
Yeah.
should have had a mature discussion with her.
Oh, and that's where I, don't get the rest of his actions here, right? He should have had a conversation with his daughter. He should have talked to her and said, I think, blah, 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 right? Or I don't know. I don't even know. Because, like, he wouldn't have even discovered any of this if he hadn't snooped in her apartment.
Yeah.
And it feels like he wants to have control over her life.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, I think that she does appreciate his help, but he doesn't get to control, like, there shouldn't be necessarily strings attached to gifts, right? If he is trying to help her out, he needs to be helping her out.
Right. Well, it all feels very punitive too, like
Yeah.
canceling her birthday party last
Mhm.
minute and saying like I want to be removed from everything. Like, and again, I understand if he doesn't want to, give money to this household because he feels like there are more income earners now, so they should be able to handle it themselves. But I also feel like the snooping and the control here is very much not okay, and he needs to rethink his life decisions.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says OP needs a hobby.
Yeah, he sure does.
And Suba says she talks about these two grown men as if his daughter isn't a grown woman. Breaking into someone's home isn't okay, even if it's your daughter.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Now we're gonna have to kind of accelerate here. We're running out of time here. Well, I guess we're only halfway through the episode so far. Our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Ditching a Wedding That I, a 20-year-old female, was the maid of honor for because the bride, a 22-year-old female, tried to set me up with the best man? Speaking of unreasonable people, I was supposed to be the maid of honor at a wedding a few weeks ago, and I ended up just leaving and going home with my boyfriend of 6 years after the bride and groom tried to set me up with the best man. When my friend got engaged last year, I was excited for her, and even more excited when she asked me to be the maid of honor. As invites went out through, though, she asked me not to bring my boyfriend to the wedding. I was really upset about that, but my boyfriend talked me down, telling me that weddings were expensive, and they were probably trying to keep the guest list down, and they didn't really know him, so it would be fine for me to go without him. That made sense to me, so I didn't say anything or do anything after that, and just continued to help as I could at being the maid of honor. Nothing else really concerning happened until a couple days before the wedding. The bride asked me to give the best man a ride to and from the wedding, which was about a 4-hour drive. I thought that it was just part of that as he was a veteran and he has issues surrounding that. So I gave him a ride up from the air. So I picked him up from the Airbnb that we were staying at before the wedding. The whole time he tried to make conversation that was just weird to me, and I was just not into it, and I was trying to do my best just to be nice to him. At the Airbnb with everyone, I immediately noticed things were off. All of the other bridesmaids had their boyfriends, and things things were really awkward when I found out that I was in a hotel room with the best man, or well, not in a hotel room, but in a room with the best man. The next day, before the rehearsal dinner, the bride and the groom cornered me in a room to say that the best man was an incredible guy, and that I was blowing him off without really giving him a chance. I told him, well, of course I have a serious long-term boyfriend, which you all specifically told me not to bring. Then the bride cut in and told me that wasn't really a serious since then the bride cut in and told me that we weren't really all that serious since he hasn't proposed in so long. I argued back that it was because that we were still both in school. We continued arguing for a little while before I finally just said, forget it, I'm going home. I called all sorts of awful names going out of the wedding, and I packed up and left. I got a lot of calls on the way home, which I ignored until my boyfriend called. Apparently, the bride called him and told him that I just left for no reason and called to check in on me. I told him everything that had happened, and he was kind of dumbstruck by it all. Anyways, after the wedding, I've had I had the bride, the groom, and a lot of the friends call me or message me telling me how horrible of a person I was for just leaving the night before the wedding for no reason. None of which were receptive to my side of things, and it just started worrying me that maybe I overreacted by leaving like that. Am I the jerk? Edit. I started dating my boyfriend in high school. He's 2 years older than me, and my friends don't really know my boyfriend since he doesn't go to the same school as us, and when we do see each other, it's usually halfway between our schools. Alright, folks, what do you think?
No, absolutely not the jerk. I mean, what they were doing is really horrible. And honestly, I don't trust this friend at all. I don't trust her not to like spike OP's drink at the reception or something. Like, honestly, with how pushy she and the groom were being, I would be worried for OP's safety in this situation. You are absolutely okay. It's absolutely fine to leave a place when you feel uncomfortable and unsafe. And so I don't think OP did anything wrong here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if she has texts from the friend that confirm that the friend was trying to set her up, I would recommend like sharing them with people because it seems like the bride got to everyone first and kind of was like, OP left for no reason. So if she has receipts, post those so people know the full story that she was trying to get OP to cheat on her boyfriend because she wanted to play matchmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the crux of the issue here. Is she was trying to play matchmaker, and she told OP specifically not to bring their boyfriend. She set up this whole situation to kind of, force OP to be with this person, and she's not respecting OP's relationship. And I think that that isn't a good friend. And I think you're probably right. I do think that she was able to control the narrative and paint OP like a bad person, and that's really an unfortunate situation because she kind of was able to get ahead of any of the things that OP had to say.
Yeah, so, and I mean, OP, yeah, I would just not be friends with this person anymore. She's not a friend. She's not a good person. Like, I would have noped out if I was being put in the same bedroom as a strange man.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how is any of that reasonable or okay? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the friends can think that this guy is the greatest person in the world. That doesn't mean he is entitled to a girlfriend.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's entitled to OP. And it seems like they think that since he's such a nice a guy, and he's having a hard time finding a girlfriend, that we're just going to throw OP his way and he deserves it.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says, okay, when the bride starts direct pressure, it's definitely time to leave. Marcia says, wow, awful bride. And Mary says, breaking it off with the bride sounds like a good idea. That would have been a lifetime of setups like this.
Yeah. Well, probably. Probably. Speaking of a lifetime of setups, am I the jerk for accepting a trip paid for by my husband to forgive his infidelity when I have no intention of forgiving him and getting a divorce? My husband confessed to me that he was unfaithful to me. It was only once, and the guilt was killing him. It was a coworker. He told me that he would do anything to get me to forgive him and move on, quit his job, or ask for a change of branch, go into marriage therapy, let me have access to all of his devices. I asked for a divorce, and he doesn't accept it. As desperate act, he told me that he bought 2 tickets to go on a trip. According to him, it's so that we can spend time together and rethink our marriage. If it doesn't work, he'll accept the divorce. I accepted because I want to go on the trip. Due to a problem a few months ago, I ran out of money and I couldn't take a trip that I wanted with my family. But I think this is where I can be the jerk. It's that I'm really the only accepting this trip to be able to travel. I don't really plan on forgiving him for the infidelity. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not going to weigh on if OP is the jerk or not because this is kind of complicated, but I will say it is not a good idea. He is not being honest when he says he will just let you have a divorce. It's
Yeah.
very clear that he thinks this trip is going to change OP's mind, and you don't want to give him more leverage.
I'm gonna say hi, June, real quick. Welcome to the live stream. I I don't know if that's the case or not. I think it would be really difficult to judge his motives from this one letter. I think that maybe he does want to spend time with her in order to try building a relationship. Whether or not that's an attempt to basically guilt her into staying in the relationship or something else is really difficult for me to say. It could be, right? Because I mean, things like that happen, and
Well,
they
and he's
happen
guilted
often.
her every step of every step of the way, and flat out refused to get a divorce.
Yeah. So I think that OP, if they know that they can't trust this individual and they don't want to have a relationship with them anymore, then they just need to break things off and not accept this trip. I think it would be a tremendously bad idea to go on this trip because it's just not what's in the cards for OP and their husband. He's going to be viewing this trip as a very different experience than she is.
Right. Well, and like if he's treating this like a romantic getaway, is OP even gonna have fun? Like, probably she's not gonna want to do coupley things with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it doesn't seem like it's gonna be the trip that she wants either. And so I would just caution against it.
Yeah. But what do the comments have to say?
Uh, June says, I have no opinion because I just got here. And Mary says, I'd be worried alone for a week or so with a partner who feels desperate. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, that desperation can be pretty bad. It can manifest itself in some not so good ways. Speaking of desperation, our next letter is titled, My husband wants a housewife, but got me instead. I don't know, is desperation the right word here? I don't think it is. I don't think that was a good segue. I don't think that was a good segue at all. Am I the jerk? I am a 30-year-old female, and I work from home, and I have 2 children, a 9-year-old male and a 1-year-old female. We also have 3 dogs. I recently got married to my husband, a 34-year-old male. My youngest is ours, and my son from my youngest is ours, and my son is from a different relationship. Recently, we built our house, and I walk our dogs on leashes multiple times a day because we haven't had a fence installed yet. I also take care of our 1-year-old while I work. My son is also in 2 sports, and it keeps us pretty busy. Yesterday, my husband mentioned that I needed to clean our dog's ears. So I said, why can't you do it? He said, I'm going to say this once, and I mean it. You are home all day. I should mention that this is his dog, and he got it before me, and I do all of the other chores for all 3 of our dogs, groomers, vets, and take them out even when he is home. I was so angry, and I just walked away. Well, this morning, I was still angry, and he asked if I was still mad. Because he didn't say anything ridiculous, and he thinks that there's a lot more that I can do during the day. Mind you, I work a full-time corporate job from home with our 1-year-old. He says that I can make time for things that I want to do instead of things that he needs. I also should mention that I do all of the cleaning, cooking, shopping, and running my son to sports and his dad's house. The only thing that he takes responsibility for is pulling weeds out of the yard. We have a lawn company who mows. He is supposed to take the trash to the curb. He forgets so many times. I also pack his lunches and I do the laundry. I'm at my wit's end and I'm so stressed out. He can tell that I'm frustrated with his lack of help, and this has just sent me over the edge. Am I the jerk? Edit, since it's come up in the comments, we need me to work. I make a majority of our income. Edit once again. Since everyone is coming at me for this being rage bait or a fake profile, yes, I created a profile this morning and I have never used Reddit before. Thanks to TikTok and podcasts that I read these posts on, I decided to come here. The internet is a ridiculous place. I never thought that I would have to defend myself on being real. I see that so often. But
Yeah.
what do you folks think?
I mean, honestly, OP, I think a divorce might be in order. Like, what does this man actually bring to the table? He's not the main income earner. He's not doing anything to take care of the kids, take care of the house, literally anything. Like, wouldn't you be better off just, let him have his dogs and, go from there?
Now, I'm going to interject real quick because I saw a comment that caught the corner of my eye here from Suba. How do you transition so smoothly every single time? It's called magic. Magic, Suba. Magic. This guy is just not good. I think that OP could do so much better for themselves. And it's really difficult because you go into a relationship and you want it to succeed, right? No one goes into a relationship being like, it's gonna fail, right? And I think that OP has every right to feel at their wits' end because he is doing very, very little in the way, if anything, to be a team, right? Being a parent and being, parents with the kids is a team effort. It requires both participants to make sure that everything is going smoothly. And he comes in one day and is like, demanding her to do certain things when he doesn't do anything. I don't know. This just feels like the first letter that we read all over again, right?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, Mary says, "Is this guy out golfing with the hubby from earlier?" So, I mean, yeah, it definitely has those same vibes, and I think that both OPs could do better without their partners.
Yeah.
Or at a minimum, go start working from the office, so he can't use the "well, you're at home all the time" excuse anymore.
Yeah, yeah. What do the comments have to say though?
And so then Mary added, again, she's only going to get time for herself once custody is split.
Yeah. And that's really the reality of these kinds of situations is that, you know, people like so often you are, people in this situation where they're doing majority of the work, reevaluate your relationship. See what the other person really is doing and bringing to the table. Maybe you would have one less set of messes to clean up if this person wasn't living with you.
Right. Well, I understand it's hard because these things build up gradually over
Yeah.
time. Usually it's not someone who's absolutely slacking off from the get go.
Yeah.
It's once kids come into the picture, they do less and less. And then all of a sudden, OP's been doing it all. And like, well, it's your responsibility now.
Yeah. So, is that it for the comments?
Yes.
Oh, well, then there we go. Speaking of another husband, our next letter is titled, "Am I the jerk for making my husband get our 3-year-old to sleep because he was the one that promised that she could stay up late?" And I mean, again, this is literally dealing with a husband, so
Yeah, the transition works perfectly.
my segue is pristine, is beautiful. I don't know what else to say beyond that. It's the best pristine, beautiful transition ever. My husband and I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old daughters. Our 3-year-old is suspected to have autism, and we're waiting on an evaluation, but we're all pretty sure she has it. Our 3-year-old also has pink eye. Well, last night at dinner, my husband promised the 3-year-old that she can stay up late because she's not going to preschool today. I asked how late, and he said 9. Bedtime is at 7:30. I told him that I wasn't going to deal with that mess, and if he wants to let her stay up that late, he can be the one to get her to sleep. I got the little one in bed, and I watched my husband play with her while I cleaned up. Tantrum started at 8, and she was miserable when he got her in the bath at 8:45. She was melting down in the bath, then in bed, and eventually he gave her the pacifier, we've been trying to wean her off of it, and brought her to our bed at 9:45. She finally fell asleep at 10, and my husband told me that he's upset at me for leaving him to do everything by himself, even when I knew that he was having a hard time. I told him that I wasn't the one who promised the autistic 3-year-old that she can break from her routine to go to sleep an hour and a half past her bedtime, but he thinks that I still should have helped. Am I the jerk for not helping? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, I don't think Opie's in the wrong here. I mean, I think that the outcome of this was pretty obvious to OP. She warned him not to. There's no reason for a 3-year-old to be staying up until 9 anyway. Like, I was much, much older when I could go to bed at 9, and, like, nothing was life-threatening here. There was no, yes, kid was having a meltdown because she's overstimulated and overexhausted and whatnot, but it wasn't dangerous or harmful to her.
So I will add some context here because there are some comments in the comment section that I think are illuminating. OP is a professional child care person, so she actually takes care of kids during the daytime. And this is her husband's first child, or first children, right? So he's not really super experienced with children in the way that OP is. And OP is much far more experienced in the child rearing department
Mm-hmm.
here. And she knew that he was probably not really understanding of what he was trying to do here, right? And so I think the way she kind of looked at it as is like a life experience type of thing where maybe next time he won't do that.
Well, that's the other thing, too, is if she sweeps in now, there's nothing to stop him from doing this again and waiting for OP to be the hero every single time. That's kind of how these things build up, where you have, because he knows she's the expert in childcare, and yet he decided to make this decision unilaterally, assumed that he was more knowledgeable, and if he's so knowledgeable about childcare, then, he can do it.
Well, I mean, I think with her saying that, well, are you sure you
Mm-hmm.
want to have the kids stay up till 9. Maybe he should have asked a little more probing questions, or maybe they should have had a discussion beforehand about what the expectations for them staying up late was. And it feels like he made this unilateral decision to kind of like play the, like you said, hero dad, and it didn't work out so well for him. So I think more communication, and hopefully in the future, they both sit down and have conversations about what is expected for childcare. So,
Yeah.
but what do the comments have to say?
So Mary says showing is so much more effective than telling. She warned him. He didn't believe her. He believes her now. Mission accomplished.
Yeah, yeah. So, speaking of not listening, our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to help my foster parents after they treated me like a servant? I don't know if listening or not really is involved in this one.
I mean, the foster parents didn't listen.
Yeah, the foster parents certainly didn't listen. I'm a 32-year-old female, and I grew up in foster care. After bouncing between homes, I ended up with a couple when I was about 12. At first, they seemed alright, but it didn't take long for me to realize that I wasn't really part of the family. From the first day that I moved in, I was treated more as a live-in maid than a daughter. They make me do all the cleaning, cooking, laundry, you name it. I was the one who scrubbed the floors, cooked their dinners, washed their clothes, even had to iron them to their standards. They didn't even let me have a normal childhood. No after school activities, no hanging out with friends, and forget dating. I was always told, you're needed at home, like I was just there to serve them. If I didn't do a good enough job, or if I missed something, they would punish me by giving me more chores, or they would sometimes take food away from me. Emotionally, they were just cold. They never gave me any advice, they never helped me with school, and they certainly never encouraged me to do better. When I wanted to apply for college, I had to figure it out all on my own. They didn't even help me with applications or support me in any way. I always felt that I was alone in that house. But I worked my butt off to get out of there. And I managed to go to college, get a good job in marketing, and now I'm doing really well for myself. I moved on and I tried to put it all behind me. Well, a few weeks ago, I got a call from my old foster parents. They are struggling now and apparently in debt, and they said that they need financial help. They expect me to take care of them because they raised me. I was furious. I told them that after the way they treated me, they had no right to ask me for anything. I don't owe them anything. They got super upset at me, called me ungrateful, selfish, and saying that this was all tough love that they had given me, and that is what made me who I am today. They're even telling me that my foster siblings, who they treated way better, by the way, that I'm a heartless person for abandoning them. And now my foster siblings are piling on me, saying that I should help them out and that I'm holding onto the past too much. I don't know. I don't think that I owe them anything, but maybe I'm being too harsh. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. These parents were not parents. They were just very cruel people
Yeah.
who use you essentially as a servant for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Opie says, you don't treat children like that.
Yeah.
You don't bring a child into your home to like clean your house and everything. If you do that, you're a bad person. Sure, you can expect children to do some household chores, but they should be there to be part of your family.
Yeah, yeah. I really feel bad for OP here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that OP has every right to not want to help them out. And I question, where are the other foster siblings in this situation where if they're so upset about OP, maybe they should be helping out the foster parents instead,
Well, that's
right?
the thing. There's nothing stopping them from giving money to the parents.
So I think that OP is perfectly justified in not wanting to help these people who, like, she gave them years of free labor and other things like that. She is more than paid for any help that they need now. They're on their own, and I think that that's really what this boils down to. And sure, they took care of OP, but there are a lot of other people who would have taken care of OP and at least given them some kind of semblance of a childhood,
Well,
right?
that's the thing is it wasn't even really taken care of. It was like, yeah, they're feeding her and clothing her and
Yeah.
housing her, but it's not care. We're basically getting a maid for free.
Yeah, the OP was a live-in maid.
And getting a check from the government too on top of that.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's actually a really good point. They were actually earning money off of OP.
they were profiting off of her and then using her for free labor.
Yeah.
And these other foster siblings, like if they were getting money for them as well, like it seems like they just didn't budget their money now that the children are grown and they don't know what to do with themselves, but they should have like lived within their means.
Maybe they should hire more foster children.
No, these people do not need more foster children.
What do the comments have to say?
So let's see. Mary says, "This breaks my heart. I wonder if a statute of limitations has run out on their abusive treatment." And then Marsha says, "Tell them she is now teaching them tough love."
Yeah, I mean, I think that actually is a really good response there.
Yeah.
A great response.
Tough love right back on them.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that what they did was tough love. I mean, theirs wasn't loving at all.
No. What we have like what 5 minutes left?
All right, tea time, and then we'll do our special
Yeah,
story.
we'll do tea time, and then we'll do this one here. So tea time. All right, folks, it's tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here. I actually have 2 teas, so you have a chance of getting it right.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the poll?
Oh, and Amber has a joke, and we also have a poll. We'll let Amber do the joke real quick
All right,
here.
knock knock.
Oh, is it another knock knock joke?
Yeah, knock knock.
No one's home.
Knock knock.
No one is ever home.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Lettuce.
Let us in. No, we will not let you in.
Lettuce.
Let us who?
Let us in.
That's what I just said.
I
We're
know,
not letting you in.
Ruined it.
I ruined it. I'm a
You're the
terrible
worst.
monster. Speaking of monsters, we have the giant poll here. Let's end the poll. And yeah, see what it has to say.
Looks like vampires are our winner.
Yep, vampires are the winner, witches, and then zombies, and then ghosts. And yeah. That's the poll.
Pretty cool.
Hopefully you enjoyed the knock knock joke. And I have a special guest tea. I actually have 2 special guest tea. I have the chocolate tea here, and I have the matcha tea here.
And I had my first book event this week.
Amber did have her first book event this week. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah, so I just the WGS department at UMaine, they set up a panel so where I get to talk about Grizzly, the charity anthology I was in, and my story Jane. So it was really awesome. Good discussion. Good seeing people there, and like, yeah, it just makes me really happy. So I wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, it was a good presentation. She did a good job. Oh, and you have Diet Coke for Mary, and mocha and licorice spice for Brian. You were like 50%, right? So I mean, yeah, that's like halfway there. So you get full points. We're grading on the curve today. All right, let's move into speaking of grading on the curve. Oh, bye for now, June. Thanks for joining us. Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go over here. Speaking of grading on the curve, our next letter is titled, "Am I a jerk for marrying a man who proposed to me while I was on the toilet?" I'll let you folks take your bets now. Good, bad, indifferent? I don't know. Let's find out. It's not as bad as it sounds. My friends are just obsessed with that part. I think. Fake names. I'm a 32-year-old female, and my fiance Peter, a 30-year-old male, had arranged a candlelight dinner in a hotel room. There were flowers, rose petals, and music. There was my favorite dinner and my favorite dessert. Peter was in a tux, and I was wearing a dress. That evening was so amazing. While I was eating, my IBS started acting up, and I ran to the bathroom. It was mortifying, but at least I was comfortable enough with Peter to allow him to come in. I was apologizing for ruining our evening while I was on the toilet, and he said it was okay. I felt like he wanted to ask me to marry him in the whole evening long. I told him that I loved him, and he said that he loved me too. I told him, "I'm sure you'll take care of me in sickness and in health." That comment made Peter smile, and he got down on one knee. I didn't care that it was this situation. I was just so happy I said yes. I felt like he wouldn't have asked if I didn't make that comment about the sickness and health. I told my best friend Kate, a 33-year-old female, and another friend Bailey, a 33-year-old female. I told them the truth. Kate said that it was weird, creepy, and a jerk move on his part. I explained that he likely would have put it off if I didn't mean the health comment. Kate said that I was desperate, and that I should have had some respect for myself. Bailey said that if I thought that Peter would ask another time, then I should have just let him ask another time. Before talking to them, I thought that I had the sweetest proposal story. Now I feel like a jerk who caused my amazing fiance to have a terrible story. Am I the jerk here? Update and some context. The proposal happened on Saturday, and I had been holding off on telling my parents and Peter's parents. Both sets of parents live in different states. Tonight, we told my parents via video chat. My parents are Bob and Susan, both 58. My mom is a massive fan of romance, and I knew that she would ask about the proposal. Peter and I told my parents the whole story. My mom was over the moon. She said proposing like that is better than any idea she had. My dad said it just proves the love that Peter has for me. My mom asked if she can tell others, and I said sure. I asked my mom to be my maid of honor, and after getting engaged, my pick for maid of honor was going to be either Kate or my mom. I didn't pick my mom out to spite Kate. I'm not punishing Kate. Kate's initial reaction to my proposal story would just make her being maid of honor kind of awkward. Plus, my mom is so happy with our union, and she would love to plan a wedding. Then we told Peter's parents via video chat. His parents are Chuck, a 55-year-old male, and Linda, a 59-year-old female. His parents really appreciate the comedy. Chuck thanked us for giving them the gift of telling them that amazing story, if we're comfortable with that. I told them that we're confused. Linda said that she's so happy for us, and Peter told his father that he wants him to be the best man. Lastly, we told Peter's sister Juliana, a 27-year-old female, via video chat, as she as she lives in another state, and she has her father's sense of humor. I hope Kate and Bailey will be bridesmaids, and yes, Kate and Bailey are single. I have been best friends with Kate since ninth grade, so this is a little bit of a disagreement that won't ruin our friendship. Further update. Kate and Bailey both agreed to be bridesmaids when I asked via Messenger. Kate apologized via message, and she sent me a video of her apologizing. Kate said that she appreciates that I'm still letting her be a key part of the wedding. She said that after several days of thinking about the proposal, she realizes how loving it was. She said that if she had IBS, she would appreciate a great guy who treats her like how Peter treats me. Bailey apologized via message as well. Her apology was brief, and she admitted that Kate had told her to apologize. All right, folks, what do you think of this?
Yeah, no, Opie, you're not in the wrong. It is a sweet story because of your relationship. Like, it would have been one thing if Opie was just randomly in the bathroom and he, on a random day, and he just barged in and was like, "Would you marry me?" But it was very clear where the evening was headed, and Opie even prodded him along, so it seems like it was the right thing for their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not the proposal that a lot of people would want, not a proposal I would want, but I'm also not in Opie's shoes, and I can't fault her for, you know, being happy to see that her partner still loves her when she's in less than top form physically.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think that this is going to be some situation that is going to be dependent on everyone's own comfort levels. There are some people who are very private in the bathroom and don't want anyone in the bathroom with them. And there are people who are like OP and fine with that situation. So I don't think that this is going to be the proposal for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So don't get any ideas, guys. Just barge in on your partner while they're using the bathroom and propose and be like, "It worked on Reddit. I don't know why it didn't work here." So yeah,
very unique circumstances.
very unique circumstances, hard to replicate. I think again, like if OP is happy about it and Peter is happy about it, that's all that matters at the end of the day. Everyone's relationship is different and unique. That they're all like snowflakes, except for they melt less easily.
So sometimes.
Well, the way we see some of these Reddit ones, maybe that statement is not accurate.
Although more like they go up in a massive flame.
Yes.
But hopefully not this relationship.
So, I mean, again, I don't think that OP's in the wrong here, and they need to do what's right, and if they're happy, then more power to them. So, yeah, best of luck to OP and her and Peter and their future. But what do the comments have to say?
Mary says, "I'm still trying to get over OP inviting him into the bathroom under those conditions. 39 years of marriage never led my hubby and I to that point. Well, at least she knows he'll be there in sickness and in health. And Marcia says, I wouldn't have told everyone about it and just announced that I was engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you there. And I'll answer Marsha's over here. So about the matcha tea while we transfer over to our outro scene. And of course, I have not updated our outro scene here. I like matcha. Matcha's pretty good. But that's about all the time we have for today. So I'm kind of two places at once with my like train of thought. I was like, how much do I talk about the matcha tea? How much do I go into the outro stuff? Like, I'm on the outro screen, so I need to go through my routine, right? But I do want to answer the question about or the comment about matcha. So now you have a small glimpse into the conflict that's riddling me to my soul here. Speaking of riddling me to my soul, what is our next live stream day? It is going to be October 25th.
Yeah, you already changed it.
Oh, I already changed it. Wow. I am so, folks, I am so far ahead of myself that I don't even remember changing this.
But you got something wrong. It says next live stream, but it'll be our live scream.
I see. Our next live, and because we did have one last year, I guess we can say it's our next live scream.
Yeah, I'm not saying you have to change it. I was just teasing you.
Well,
but...
now it's too late. It's too late. It's now been changed to live scream.
Now we just have to remember to change it back after October.
Yeah, it's probably going to stay that way for like a year.
I mean, that's fine. We can have live screams all year round.
Yes. But thanks so much for watching, everyone. And I hope you had a good time. I hope you enjoyed the stories that we picked out today and all that stuff here. But I hope you also have a good weekend. Thanks so much for watching, and I guess we'll see you all later. I'm gonna hang on here for a few minutes while everyone files out of the room. We have to like maintain the fire exits for security purposes, for like, you know, the fire department gets on our cases as if everyone like exits at the same time. So single file, please.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us, Mary. Thanks for joining us, Marcia. Army Soldier Lady, also Suba, and Heather. Let's see, who else was here? Sue Sums, Hannah. Thank you all for joining us. We had a great time, and I hope you did too. You're being trampled at the fire exit. We'll send help, Mary. We'll send help.